Good evening, Aries. Welcome back to Will's Cartomancy Tarot. Today I will be presenting a couples reading for you guys to kind of uncover your true attitudes towards each other. You will find that this reading will lend itself to sparkling a worthwhile conversation between you two of you. Um, and to save down on some time, Aries, I've already shuffled and presented the layout as we see here. The cards are illustrated here. Okay? So let's go on and begin. Let's look at your bottom card, Aries. You have the Hierophant here. So, Aries, this card kind of represents a sense of confidence, sincerity. It signifies the search for meaning. It represents like ways that prove to be fruitful. It also represents Aries establishments, organizations, and key or critical figures that you might line yourself with. It says that it looks like you've been having conflicts and finding it difficult to communicate effectively or to get across your ideas to your partner. You are not fulfilled in this union because it is either non productive or dissatisfying at a very deep level. And it looks like your anxieties are forcing you to kind of look within to find the answers that you seek. This card is saying to you, Aries, that it's better to kind of endure suffering or abstention than to kind of be put in a position where you have to compromise yourself or your values. And Aries, if your mind is really filled with all the things it wants and needs, there really can be no room for betterment. This card is kind of suggesting that for the higher to enter, some of the debris must be cleared away. And so this is kind of like, letting you know that it's time to kind of let go of your attachment to the past or feelings of loss or your old routine and kind of move into the new or the unknown. This card might be saying or suggesting too that you may be feeling a bit pressured, to kind of fit in with what others expect of you. They want you to kind of conform to a way that they feel that a relationship should be, and perhaps you're not conforming. Um, Again, there is a need to kind of look for a new approach. So let's move on, Aries, and kind of look at, how you're kind of viewing your partner. We have the Five of Wands here, Aries. And this five is all about a situation that really requires courage and where we have to kind of prove our abilities. You see your partner, Aries, as courageous. You might even see him or her as someone you cast aside and has returned for a second go around. Or even someone who tries to outdo other men and women in some sense. I'm feeling that you see an exciting challenge in this individual and also in this encounter, and you appear to kind of be up for this challenge, Aries. It looks like that you're very up for this challenge that um, seems to be ahead of you. And I'm feeling that you see your partner as having a separate life, perhaps unrelated interests and different friends. It appears that you two more than likely have regular conflicts, but there's plenty of excitement, but it looks like there's like a lot of limited connectiveness. Thus, this card is kind of suggesting to you, Aries, that if you really want to kind of win him or her, you might need to kind of engage him or her in a competitive power play somehow. You may need to show that you are prepared to kind of pull yourself together and work things out. And if it should concern competition, this card is kind of suggesting do not evade it, but rather kind of prove what you are really capable of. Because just looking at this card is suggesting that deep down inside, you know, of your partner, Aries, an adventurer is kind of hiding who loves risky and challenging situations. And as long as he or she is unaware of it, you know, she or he, might get into difficult situations repeatedly without understanding why. Really all the while seeing him or herself as a cautious or even cowardly type of person. But I'm feeling that once your partner gets to know this side of him or herself, there will be more zest in life. You're going to feel as if, somehow that you're making a trade off or compromise, but I'm feeling you're going to do without it before you let that really happen. So let's just move on and see how your partner kind of see you. And so we have the devil card here. So, Aries, this card has many meanings. It usually kind of indicates excess or pointing to dependence or kind of being unfree in some way and an easy subject of extortion. Your partner kind of sees you as extremely fascinating, anything but harmless and definitely important to you. And I'm feeling that regardless of whether you show a more dangerous or more tempting side, your partner would do anything to kind of get at you. And that, Aries, that does not necessarily suggest bad intentions, but there seems to be certainly a lack of temperance. Your partner, therefore, could be playing him or herself or the relationship down by really, simply blocking out and denying the darker aspects, and the more passionate depths that this relationship has. I'm kind of feeling that your partner might need to kind of stop being good all the time and stand by his or her darker sides, which might lend a different, more intense atmosphere to this relationship. Aries, this card is also suggesting that, perhaps deep down within, you have hidden, it looks like a dark or dangerous side, which your partner fear as eerie and evil. And as long as it remains locked away. This card is kind of saying if you think of yourselves as really innocent, you really do not seem to know anything about this really, dark side of yourself. So, you know, I'm kind of feeling that your surroundings, however, will certainly not perceive you as so harmless. Um, because normally our subconscious kind of makes us do things we really do not see ourselves. But if you kind of become more aware of these darker forces, you can assume responsibility for them, and into the bargain your life would looks like it's going to gain more intensity and depth, you know and that would, also kind of help you improve your conversations with you. Now, with having this devil here, your partner kind of feels, he or she may see you as potentially controlling too and jealous. And two, he or she might see you as really only wanting them, because you just want sex for just sexual type of reasons or pleasures. Okay? So let's just move along and just look at, how you really kind of see yourself in this situation. So we have the Three of Swords here, which is this card right here. So this card is kind of all about, really sobering disappointments and really painful realizations or decisions. It kind of says, Aries, that you are going through a crisis or really standing on a threshold where really owning prudent considerations and smart, Aries, consistent action is the only thing that's going to be helpful for you, even if it's painful. Perhaps you might need to do what has to be done, this card is suggesting. And this card is kind of telling you to make a step, Aries, that is not easy, but you're going to have to take that step because you know that you need to do it and it is the right one that you need to do. So this card is also giving us, depicting yourself as appearing a bit hurt, impatient, or angry. But one thing about with this card is that that condition usually will not last long because you remember that, this will pass, and that it needs to be experienced honestly and not really suppressed. So you need to kind of really get in tune, more tune with your feelings. So let's move along to see, how your partner kind of sees himself, really in this relationship. And the way that your partner sees himself, we have the Ten of Pentacles, which is this card right here. So, Aries, this card is all about really external wealth, security, and stability. But it also shows that we can find inner wealth, really if we kind of open our eyes, Aries, to the things that are actually within reach, but that we nevertheless tend to overlook in our haste. So, Aries, therefore, your partner, feels that he or she has received a lot in life, and it seems that they're very aware of those riches. So, or potentially he or she might be in the midst of a search for more rewarding experiences or being focused more so on their career, perhaps, that may have been overlooked up until now. So he or she looks like they kind of want to establish better relations, um, but he or she might consider trusting, that in the stability of the relationship and kind of work on him or herself and open his or her eyes, for the precious detail that I'm feeling that might have been overlooked in this relationship. So that's how, I'm really kind of seeing your partner and how they're really seeing themselves in that type of fashion. So let's move on, Aries, to kind of see this is how, how you're kind of viewing the relationship itself as it is, as it stands. And this reading is good until the end of this month, by the way. We have the Empress here. So, Aries, this card represents a fruitful ground on which something new can kind of flourish. So, you feel the impulse to kind of bring new life into this relationship. And maybe in the sense that you would like to potentially have kids, or, merge your kids with him. Or possibly you would like to make your everyday life more enjoyable. You know, give more priority to all sorts of nice pastimes. I'm feeling, like running the whole gamut from perhaps having good food in the outdoors to kind of perhaps erotic pleasures. I'm feeling, Aries, that it appears that you have been brooding on this topic for a while and it kind of needs to be dealt with now. This card is saying you are kind of longing for love and affection and want very much to express the things in your heart, but it looks like you're having difficulty and you will not be content to just be a surface lover. And I'm feeling that you're going to feel taught, trouble, or out of sorts because you'll want to create something, but you won't know what. This card is kind of there for advising you, Aries, to kind of heed your feelings a bit more and your instincts and not your intellect, and to really learn how to trust your feelings more because it looks like with these cards, it looks like you are in a reorientation period. And what this card is suggesting is that if you have neglected to heed your feelings or your intuitive faculties, you're going to be prevented from utilizing your intellectual resources until the balance Aries is restored. Okay, so let's move right along to just see how your partner is viewing the relationship. We have the Two of Wands, Aries, and that card is right here. Okay, so Aries, this card kind of indicates somewhat a neutral position between what I would call two polarities between one's interest can be aroused for neither of the sides at a crossroad or in a decision making. In the best case, there will be some kind of vaguely expressed intention that I'm feeling that does not really lead anywhere. In some situations, Aries, such uncommitted behavior can be useful, but this card is mostly a warning against kind of becoming duller, and kind of losing one's joy, of life, because through apathy or an indifference. So, with that said, Aries, your partner kind of sees the relationship as somewhat, he's seeing the relationship as being somewhat lukewarm. You know, there seems to be a lack of energy and suspense that he feels that the relationship is missing. So, nothing really is kind of moving your partner at the moment. Apart from wishing to keep out of things, I'm kind of feeling your partner may not want to kind of make a decision and are at best, or is at best, kind of expressing some vague intentions. So, Aries, your partner is kind of having some kind of dilemma right now, and perhaps the glow of love almost extinguished, has been extinguished in some way, and he or she does not know whether to kind of leave it at that or really to ignite that fire once again. I'm kind of feeling also that it could be that your partner currently finds him or herself in or at the beginning of possibly or potentially a new relationship that does not really arouse his or her passion. It could equally be possible too that your partner could as easily see this relationship really simply as an online romance, like an on the go type romance, perhaps just a series of phone calls, emails, or, online. He feels the relationship isn't as significant because it says yet. in his view, to have evolved beyond a superficial level. So this relationship looks to me, it looks like it requires a bit more substance, Aries. So, Aries, before kind of ending this reading, I just wanted to give a few parting advice here because just to numerically, if you just add up all of the numbers here, you will come up or arrive at a numerical theme, and your numerical theme in here as a reading as a whole is 11, so that equates to strength. So basically, the quintessence in this reading, it would be strength and the high priestess. So the concluding advice that I'm going to give you is to kind of show your engagement. And if necessary, Aries, show your claws. And to kind of make totally clear how important the whole thing, the whole situation or relationship is to you. Strength, okay? However, in the end, you simply have to trust your inner voice to tell you when and where and how to take action. Strength and the high priestess, okay? Those are the cards that it equates to, okay? Now, as for your partner, the parting advice would be for him is that the quintessence kind of adds up to 9, and then equates to the hermit, which is down here. So I would should tell your partner that, this card kind of, your partner might need to retract and take a look inside to kind of see what he or she really wants and to kind of realize what is really right and important to him or her at this time. He or she should not take action until having done that. Okay? Now, Aries, I just wanted to add another layer to your reading. So I'm going to flip over a card here from Doreen's Virtues deck to see what I get here. This card is all talking about romantic feelings. It's telling you that your feelings are real and they're worth exploring. So you shouldn't feel any negative way about how you're feeling about the situation. But you should take some time in doing so. Let's flip over a card from the fairies and see what they have to say for you. The fairies is also giving you another message of quiet time. It says that maybe you might need to just, back away from the situation and just give it time, and just take some time away from it. And to things, restore or conditions restore itself to a better time where you can allow yourself to have a conversation with this person. Let's flip over another card from Colette Barrett's deck. This card is saying denial. Perhaps you could be in denial about how you're really feeling about this situation, and you might need to just really just let it go and move on if this is really not what you want. Okay, Aries? So, Aries, this is what I have for you this evening. I would certainly appreciate any comments that you might have with regards to this reading. This reading, as with any reading, it may not resonate with you all, but for those for whom this reading is meant, I certainly appreciate that you have sat here and listened to what I've had to say, and hopefully the comments or the things that I provided to you offer you insight or better insight into your situation. So, Aries, if you're interested in having a personal reading with me, you can send me an email to WAT61073 at gmail.com, or should you wish to send over a donation via PayPal, you can certainly do that as well. WAT61073 at gmail.com. I certainly appreciate everyone's attention, and I look forward to hearing your comments. Have a nice evening.